Welcome back, folks. I want to talk about several things that I've talked about before, but I want to kind of put them all together and elaborate a little bit. Now, I've talked about how important basics are, and if you watched some of my recent videos, you saw how a little bit of basic groundwork worked so well when it came to trailer loading a horse. You saw both the before and afters, and how easy it was to load. I also talk about how there's a big picture and it's made up of a lot of small pieces. And I want to address those things today because groundwork, it's basics, it's a lot like math. I've alluded to that in another video, how the basic stuff is a lot like basic math. And this is how it works, okay? You got things like, the horse is going to move a shoulder, the horse is going to disengage, it's going to lead, it's going to be caught, all this stuff. It's like, this is like adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing. Now, you do them in order, and you do the simple things before you move on to the more complex ones. And how it kind of works is, first you teach them to count. Then you teach them to add, then you teach them to subtract, then you teach them to multiply, then you teach them to divide. And all this stuff goes together. And you don't just, up and ask somebody to do algebra. You start with some basic math, and once they've got that all mastered, then they can move on to algebra. Because I'm going to give you an example here. Here's an extremely simple equation here. Okay, get light here. I don't know if that's going to help or not. What you got here, this is incredibly simple, but it looks a little more complex than it is because of the way it's written up. But it's just, there's some adding and some subtracting and multiplying there, and then some dividing. Answer is 1. Now, take a look at the other side here. This looks a whole lot more complex. Even the answer is a little more lengthy. Actually, it's longer than that. I ran out of paper to write on, but that's good enough. But even though the numbers are a little bigger, we got some fractions there, it's all made out of basics. We got algebra here. It looks pretty impressive, but it's all just, we got adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. That's all it is. It's made out of basics. And horse training is the same way. All of the fanciest things that you're going to ever see anybody do with a horse is all comprised of little bits and pieces put together, basics. They're adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, all combined into one formula to make a much nicer big picture. So big pictures are made out of little pieces, and horse training is a lot like math. Basic math turns into algebra, which looks pretty impressive, but if you break it down into pieces, it's really, really very simple. And horse training, a lot like that. Problem solving with horses, a lot like that. Take that big picture and break it down into little pieces, address things one at a time, and pretty soon your problems are solved. Same for training. If you do it one piece at a time and then start combining the little basic pieces, pretty soon you got some pretty fancy stuff happening. And it's very impressive to those that don't know really how simple it is. So horse training, much like math, it's all comprised of bits and pieces put together to make something far more complicated looking, like algebra, but really it's just made up of basics. And that's all horse training is too. A whole bunch of really simple, basic things combined together to make it something pretty impressive. Have a good day, folks.